This program was first broadcast on Canterbury's community access radio station Plains FM 96.9 and was made with the assistance of New Zealand On Air.
So Circular.
Welcome to So Circular, a sustainability radio show and podcast discussing waste reduction and circular economy. I'm Anthea Medill of Remix Plastic, and this program is brought to you by The Rubbish Whisperer. Kia ora katoa, I'm Anthea Medill, and welcome to the first ever episode of So Circular. So the aim of this show is to talk about some of the positives in amongst what feels like a lot of bad news around climate change and plastic pollution and all of these different things that seem to be bombarding us. So we want to offer some small things that everyday people can be aware of that will greatly reduce your environmental impact on the planet and change the way that you see the systems around you. So I'm not going to just bombard you with lots of numbers or bog anyone down in the details. I want this to be light and intriguing, and will provide a whole lot of resources and links on my website after each show, so that if you want any more information or learn more about what we discussed, then you can just head over to remixplastic.com or get in touch.
So Circular.
Cool. So first up, I'm going to literally give you some good news. So since this is our first show, I thought I'd just compile some from the last couple of months. It's exciting to announce that Again Coffee Cup lending system has just launched in Christchurch. So anybody that's in Auckland or Wellington will potentially know about this already. But this is that participating cafes have stainless steel takeaway cups. And if you go for a coffee and you don't want to have a takeaway cup that will end up going to landfill, then you can pay a $3 bond and get a reusable cup. And so then you just drop it back the next time, get your money back, and it's pretty much the perfect solution for all of those people that seem to forget their coffee cups every time they go to the cafe, or if you're not anticipating having a coffee while you're out. The second item of news is that the government has recently announced a container deposit scheme. So this is essentially that old school bottle deposit where you take your cans or bottles back and you get some money back. So this is part of the government's product stewardship scheme. And if you don't know what product stewardship is, it's the term for putting the responsibility of the product or its packaging onto the manufacturer rather than the consumer. So it takes some of that burden off us as the people that buy these things. And it also makes the waste valuable so that it actually gets disposed of correctly. So if you see it as rubbish, then it might be more likely to end up in the environment, whereas if you see it as 20 cents or 30 cents or however much they're going to set it at, then you'll be much more likely to take it to a drop-off, which keeps plastic out of the environment, and it puts pressure on manufacturers to design things differently and more environmentally friendly. This is So Circular. You can contact us with your feedback and questions through Facebook or Instagram using the tag @RemixPlastic or via our website, remixplastic.com. Today we have a guest speaker with us, Helen Townsend from The Rubbish Whisperer, to talk to us about what a circular economy looks like. Hi Helen, thanks for coming.
Kia ora, thank you for having me.
So I just thought I'd go through a little bit about how I got to being so interested in circular economy, which is pretty much that I started out on the sustainability journey, as some people call it, with waste reduction and recycling as the main focus. And then the further along I got, I realised that the whole system seems a bit broken, and that there's more to it than just reducing how much plastic we have. And so circular economy is that concept of stopping waste at the source and designing things out of the system at the beginning, rather than being an ambulance at the bottom of the cliff and just kind of picking up rubbish where you can.
This is pretty interesting, the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff thing. So that's what the Rubbish Whisperer is about, is stopping the plastic at the source, because there's that thing that if you think of the ocean as a bath and you think of the plastic going into the ocean as a tap, if all we're doing is mopping the floor, we're never going to get anywhere. So circular economy and preventing plastic going to the ocean are all the same thing, because we're turning the tap off so the bath doesn't overflow anymore.
It's a perfect analogy for it. I've pretty much just done heaps of reading and watching videos online and just gone down rabbit holes about circular economy, and I'm just really interested in it. And so I'm possibly not the most expert person to talk about it, but I'm just really, really excited by it. So here we are.
Circular economy, when you start realising what it is massively exciting. It's like potential for the future.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that the way that I see it is that while climate change is an overarching umbrella problem for all of the components like carbon emissions and plastic and all of these different things, then circular economy can be like the umbrella solution. So it's not that everything has the same fix and that it's the same kind of like one solution fits all, that all of the different components are made up of different things.
And that's cool too, because when you think about climate change, it's huge and it's really hard to get your head around. But when you think of it in different sections and the section you're most passionate about, then it's a lot easier. And the same, circular economy is massive, but when you think about it in the different ways that we can do circular economy, it's really exciting. Can we talk about what circular economy is now? Because we're just telling everyone it's really exciting and not telling anyone what it is.
Yes. So the main sources of information that I recommend people go to is the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, which is like the international group of people that are working on this, and so they're kind of compiling all of the information and hosting all of the events and like design hacks and stuff. So that's the first place to go, and their definition of it is that it's that circular economy systems are based on three principles: designing waste and pollution out of the system, keeping products and materials in use, and regenerating natural systems. So there's lots of different components to it, and like you say, different problems will have a different way of solving it.
Yeah. So the designing waste is really cool because it shows that you can have a career in combating climate change. That's not what we think of when we think of climate change. So if you're an industrial designer or a product designer or something like that, you can make this actually really massive difference.
Yeah.
So that things like my cute little phone it still works because it's 6 years old and it's stopped working properly because the apps won't update. But there's nothing wrong with the phone.
Yeah.
And I want to keep it because it's my phone. Why should I get a new one?
Yeah. And so apparently 80% of a product's waste can be designed out at the beginning.
Yeah, that's amazing, eh? And then you end up having to recycle your phone or the stuff it's made of comes from like
I don't know how
mines
much of it
in
gets
Central
recycled.
Africa. We're going to go off track.
Yeah.
We'll have to do another. We'll do more episodes. So yeah, that's exciting. Designing it circular economy into systems is cool.
Yeah, and like you say, then product designers can be people that are involved in this solution rather than just thinking that you have to be an activist and go to marches and expect the government to fix things. There's like a different role that each person can play.
Yeah. It's cool.
It's like fun problem solving.
Yeah.
Cool. So one of the things that we want to try and do today is highlight some examples of circular economy in practice that most everyday people are probably interacting with already without really realising it. And so possibly my favourite type of circular economy, and which is why we're going to start with it, is having access to something rather than owning it.
Yeah.
So not having to own everything all the time, that you can just go and use something when you need it.
Yeah. This is like, it sounds kind of like sharey and stuff, but it's actually not because we're doing it already.
It's proper mainstream already.
It is mainstream. So when you first talked to me about this, I was just totally blown away by the fact that we're all doing it when we go to the library.
Yeah.
So I don't have to own all the books I read. I can just go to the library.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And that instantly means that you're more likely to read a book that you're not sure about because you don't have to invest in it to buy it.
Well, that's true. Does that mean that I'm opening myself up to being able to read a wider variety of things? Because, oh my goodness, can circular economy make me smarter?
Probably.
Oh, yay. Cool. And what was the other one we talked about? Going to the gym.
Gyms,
Gym memberships.
yeah.
Instead of buying all the equipment, you can just go to the gym.
Yeah. And the thing with that kind of system is that gyms will invest in the best equipment. So you don't have to save up heaps and then buy all of the things. I don't know if anybody does that. Have space at home to have your own gym.
That's true.
And maintain them all.
Tell us about the drills.
Oh, yeah. So a power drill on average is used 18 minutes in its whole life.
That's amazing, isn't it? And I find it amazing that we all have washing machines and we all have dryers and we all have lawnmowers, and then we use them for like this tiny amount of time.
Yeah.
And then we all have to work to afford the stuff we buy.
And to
then
maintain it.
And to maintain it. And then we need a bigger house to keep all our stuff.
Yeah.
We could have a smaller house.
If everybody
less
used
stuff.
laundry mats.
Yeah, and then we wouldn't even have to
And
work
tool
so
libraries.
much. We could have like Friday afternoons off.
Imagine that.
Wow.
Oh,
There's
circular
this place
economy.
in Denmark that I went to that it had like the houses. So it was like a normal, it wasn't like a commune or anything. It was just people owning their houses, but they had a like community hub in the middle, and they had like laundromat and stuff. It wasn't a laundromat, it was a washing machine. And so you just had one washing machine for all of these houses.
Yeah. The interesting thing about all of this is that there's, and this always blows my mind, and I know that I've said this to you plenty of times, is that that this system of everybody owning things and each house being autonomous has been designed that way, that people, like marketing people and product sales people, have
That's
chosen
true.
to make us all
There's
separate.
not many washing machine sales if
we share
have one between half a street.
Yeah. And there's like one or two people that designed it this way. And so when you understand that, then that instantly opens up the idea that, like, oh, well, if it's been designed this way, then surely we can redesign it.
Oh, yeah, true.
And
it doesn't
might
have
only
to
take
be...
one or two people to redesign it, right?
Yeah, that's true. So the
Totally fixable.
totally awesome. And the thing is that, so there's loads of research that people are happier when they know their neighbours and when they're in community. And so if you're sharing your lawnmower or you're sharing your drill, then you're already building, you're basically making
talking
friends.
to more people, yeah.
And what's wrong with having more friends?
Yeah, and I know that this is quite, like, appropriate for Christchurch in particular, but that also means that people will know if there's an elderly person on the street. And so if there's an earthquake or something like that or a natural disaster, then you know to go and check on that person, whereas at the moment you wouldn't necessarily know that they were even there.
Yeah. There's a sad statement.
That maybe we cut that bit out.
Yeah.
It makes communities more resilient because
does.
people know each other and there's more community ties.
Yeah, and it's nice. So this is another circular economy thing that loads of people do. So the other weekend, my 14-year-old neighbour came over holding 2 lemons and said, "I'm making my mum breakfast. Can I please have 2 eggs? Because I don't have any, and I'll swap you 2 lemons for 2 eggs."
It's perfect.
It's like, that's great, of course. and it's so just swapping things from your garden is circular economy.
Yeah, it's that idea of going to the neighbour for a cup of sugar.
Yeah. And if you don't have a garden, you can go to a community pantry.
Oh, I love community pantries.
Tell us about them.
So it's actually a thing that's gone viral that was started by a guy in New Zealand and now it's international, that he had too many veggies in his garden, couldn't eat them all, and so put a little shelf out the front and said, take what you need and leave what you have, and people used it. And so they're popping up all over the country. There's like 3 near my house, which is awesome because it means that I can like spread my rhubarb without dumping it all in one place. But it instantly means that you can share. It's easier to share things because you don't have to go and talk to people, and it's open all the time, and it just makes it that little bit easier for introverts, or, you know, you can just take what you need without having to put something back. If you don't have anything at that time, and you just trust that you'll put it there when you do, sort of thing. So all of these things are a part of a sharing economy, which is all based on trust. So it's that idea that if you go and borrow a cup of sugar today, then you just assume that you'll eventually be able to repay that favour to your
or
neighbour.
pay it forward to somebody else.
Yeah. And then you don't need as much money and you can have Friday afternoons off again.
Awesome. We might even get Friday morning off.
Oh, man. Living the dream.
Well. Cool. So what other types of circular economy have we got?
Another version of having access to something and not having to own it is paying per use. So rather than paying for a membership and just going when you need to, so like, say, going to the gym once or twice in the whole time that you have the membership, or like me, not at all. And so then you don't really get the value out of it. You just pay for the one time that you need it. So, for example...
Well, I was thinking that a really good example of this is flying. So buying a plane ticket is pay per use.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's flying, there's a whole lot of other non-circular economy issues. But as a pay per use example, we don't all buy a plane, obviously.
It's quite hard to buy a plane and contain it and then fly where you need to.
That's pretty hard. The system's not set up for that. And we wouldn't get Friday afternoons off.
It's true.
But that's just like a massive, no one's going to go around buying planes every time they want to fly to Nelson. But if you just bring the idea back down, it's the same kind of thing.
Yeah. Cool. So another problem that is quite a big deal at the moment and that people focus on a lot is disposable packaging. So do you know much about life cycle analysis?
Oh, tell me more.
So the life cycle analysis is the assessment of all of the energy and resources that is used to produce, ship, consume and dispose of a product. So it's kind of like everything that's embodied in something, in a product. So, for example, a disposable coffee cup is made, shipped, filled, used for a few minutes and then shipped to a sorting facility or landfill or wherever it's off to. So with that in mind, reusables are always going to be better than disposables because you can kind of get like a little circle in the middle where it's filled and used.
Yeah, so still eventually it becomes rubbish, but there's heaps of circular economy happening.
Yeah, you slow it down.
Yeah, and so New Zealand uses 800,000 disposable coffee cups a day.
That's quite a big number.
It's massive. And so even if they are made from plants and commercially compostable, this 800,000 is still 800,000 cups.
They have to go somewhere.
And then the next day it's another 800,000 cups. If everyone just had one cup, then there's just
a lot fewer.
We don't have to dispose of them, whether it's by composting or landfilling or whatever. You don't have to keep making them and disposing of them.
Yeah, and that's the behaviour change is that we have to see that disposable product as the entire embodied energy rather than just what it is.
Yeah.
So get a reusable coffee cup.
You're listening to So Circular with Anthea Medill of Remix Plastic, featuring discussions on waste reduction and circular economy in practice. Brought to you with support from The Rubbish Whisperer and Plains FM.
So that's all we have time for today. We got quite excited and we'll have to flow this into the next show. So thanks for coming again. And I want to just leave with giving people a bit of a thing that they can do. So What's your takeaway for people?
My takeaway would be, I want it to be just use your reusable coffee cup.
Yeah, that's
Please
a good one.
Use your reusable coffee cup.
Take it with you.
Take it with you and use it, because it's ridiculous to have 800,000 cups every single day.
Yeah, cool. And my one is going to be go onto the Community Pantry website map and find out where your local one is. And if there isn't one, then you can look at starting one up if you've got too much produce. But that might be a little bit too much for one thing.
Yeah, you're onto more than one thing. Have you got a link, a website or something to the Community Pantry?
So that's all on the website.
Excellent. And what are we talking about next time?
More circular economy.
Awesome.
And the hierarchy of needs.
Oh, I love the hierarchy of
why
needs. Okay, cool.
There.
I'll come back then.
Good. Thanks.
Thank you.
So circular.
You can listen to all our shows online at plainsfm.org.nz. For details on upcoming shows and links to resources we've mentioned in this episode, visit remixplastic.com.